Episode 1 aka The Perfect Burger. Jessica Jones has returned to helping people, starting with returning Cassie Aston to her mother from Mexico, to which her father Mitch took her after losing a custody battle. A video of hers dispatching Mitch goes viral. Malcolm Ducasse continues to work for Jerry Hogarth, though he is disturbed by the methods used to help a baseball player client out of a drunk driving incident, which results in another accident that harms the client's career. Hogarth, still suffering from ALS, asks Jones to end her suffering, but she refuses. Dorothy Walker asks Jones to look for her daughter Trish, who has disappeared. Jones decides to help just to pacify Dorothy. Jones discovers that Trish has become a vigilante, using enhanced abilities that resulted from Carl Malle's experiment. When Jones intervenes in Trish's confrontation with a criminal, Trish rebuffs Jones. Jones goes to a bar and meets a man named Eric Gelden. Jones and Gelden go back to her apartment, but are ambushed by a masked assailant, who manages to stab Jones in the abdomen with a knife before fleeing. Episode 2 aka You're Welcome. In flashback, Trish discovers she has enhanced abilities following her killing of Jones' mother, Elisa. Believing she would be a better hero than Jones, Trish undergoes extensive physical training to become a vigilante. She spots Jones on the street and calls her, but Jessica hangs up on her. Trish manages to catch a cell phone thief, but he and the victim recognize her, convincing her to adopt a disguise. Later, the thief attempts to sue her for injuring his neck. Trish moves into a cheaper apartment, much to Dorothy's chagrin, but continues appearing on television. She begins to stalk Andrew Brandt, a man who put his half-sister in the hospital over a statue that was willed to her. Trish stakes out his apartment before attacking him, during which Jones appears at the scene. In the present, Trish learns of Jones' hospitalization and visits her. They believe that Brandt was behind the attack, and Jones sarcastically thanks Trish for giving her his name. Episode 3 aka I Have No Spleen. During surgery, Jones has her spleen removed and is only allowed to leave the hospital after agreeing to her new assistant Jillian's demands that she take numerous medications. Jerry meets with Kith for lunch. Later, she has Malcolm dig up incriminating information on Kith's husband Peter in an attempt to break them up. Malcolm plants a camera in Peter's office and discovers him having a tryst with one of his students. However, Kith reveals to Hogarth that she and her husband have an open relationship and will not get attached to her. Jones gets help from Hogarth in finding Brandt's statue, but while toying with Trish, she collapses in the street from dehydration and Trish makes off with her leads. Nevertheless, Jones locates the statue after confronting Trish, then captures and interrogates Brandt, learning her attacker was not Brandt or anyone associated with him, and leaves him for Trish. As Jones recollects herself at home, Eric arrives to check up on her. Jones then has an epiphany and realizes that the attacker was after Eric. Episode 4 aka Customer Service is standing by. Eric explains that he owed money to criminal Sal Blaskowski and had 1 week to fulfill it. He reveals that he is an empath and consents if someone has done wrong, though it causes him pain. Together, Jones and Eric find people he has blackmailed and collect the money while also outing their crimes to the police. Trish picks up on Blaskowski from Eric and breaks into Malcolm's office so that she can continue to investigate her. Malcolm digs up more dirt on Peter and discovers that he has been embezzling from scholarship funds that were made in his daughter's memory. Hogarth decides not to act on releasing this information as it would ruin both Peter and Kith. Eric leaves Jones to give the money to Blaskowski, but she decides to drown him for being late. Trish arrives and rescues him, but accidentally stabs Blaskowski, though she survives. Jones finally finds her attacker, Gregory Salinger, an intellectually formidable, psychopathic serial killer. Jones leaves when Salinger threatens to release criminal evidence against her, and reluctantly asks for Trish's help in capturing him. Episode 5 aka I Wish. Jones and Trish begin to stake out Salinger's apartment. When he leaves, Trish breaks in to collect evidence while Jones follows Salinger. She finds out that he has been spying on Eric's sister Brianna, a prostitute. Jones confronts the two and realizes that they are in danger and has Brianna stay at Malcolm's place for protection, though this does not last long as her pimp, Gore, arrives and takes her away. Hogarth changes her mind and releases the information on Peter, devastating Kith. Unable to convince Kith that Hogarth is manipulating them, Peter commits suicide while making a case video against Hogarth. Jones and Trish continue to argue about Elisa's death, with Jillian insisting they work out their differences. Afterwards, they use the evidence they collected to trace Salinger to an abandoned train car that houses the bodies he has collected. Jones sets off a gas trap and Trish rescues her. Later, Salinger ambushes Eric in his hotel room. Episode 6 aka Sorry Face. Salinger begins torturing Eric and trying to get him to confess to cheating. Jones learns of Eric's kidnapping and forces Trish to reveal her powers to Dorothy in an attempt to dissuade her from crime fighting, but Dorothy angrily abandons Trish. Her former partner Stephen Benowitz steals Rand Enterprises from her. Jones and Trish manage to get a lead on Salinger and find him. They rescue Eric and arrest Salinger. However, Detective Eddie Costa reveals that Salinger will not be tried due to lack of evidence. Eric cannot testify as he will get a year in prison for blackmail and will suffer pain due to his powers. Jones and Eric comfort each other. Episode 7 aka The Double Half Wappinger. Hogarth becomes Salinger's attorney. Jones and Trish believe that the death of Salinger's brother Donnie was his first kill and head to Wappinger Falls to look into it. The local police chief Ronnie Velasco refuses to aid Jones, so she and Trish steal the police files. They believe that Donnie's death was an accident, but discover that Salinger had a friend on his high school wrestling team named Nathan Silva who mysteriously disappeared. They visit the Silvas and find that Nathan's body was buried under their gazebo all these years, exposing the crime. Jones and Malcolm confront Salinger at wrestling practice. Salinger taunts Jessica as someone who uses brute force because they lack discipline, and challenges her to a wrestling match. She accepts and is pinned down by him, but she unnerves him by revealing that she knows he killed Nathan, and humiliates him by tossing him about the wrestling mat. Episode 8 aka Camera Friendly. Jones receives a video from Salinger teasing his next murder. She recruits Trish to help look for the victim while contacting Costa to check Salinger's apartment. Jones and Trish go searching for Salinger and believe that his next victim will be Mona Lee of GT Agrochemical. After escaping paparazzi, Jones realizes that Dorothy is Salinger's next victim. Trish finds her mother murdered by Salinger, then races to Salinger's apartment to kill him with Jones rushing to stop her. Episode 9 aka I Did Something Today. Trish seriously injures Salinger before Jones stops her and they escape. She is sent a photo of proof of Trish's attack by a hospitalized Salinger, who threatens to release it unless Jones destroys all evidence of Nathan's death. To save Trish, a reluctant Jones and Eric force one of Eric's blackmailed associates, Officer Carl Nussbaumer, to lead them into the forensics lab, where Jones successfully removes the evidence. Trish, however, is upset over Jones choosing her over Salinger as that means he will walk free. Malcolm comes clean with the footage, but claims that he doctored it himself and quits. While looking over the undoctored footage, Hogarth sees that Trish is the masked vigilante. Costa visits Jones' apartment and tells her he's been forced into taking a sabbatical for losing the evidence. The next day, investigators arrive and suspect Jones of murdering Nussbaumer. Episode 10 aka Hero Pants. The investigators cannot find any evidence on Jones, but they do find a folder on Nussbaumer which Jones allows them to take. As Trish prepares for Dorothy's funeral, she is approached by the investigators and insists that Jones is innocent. Jones begins to suspect Eric of the murder. Malcolm asks to rejoin Alias investigations, and Jones accepts, assigning him to look into the files on Jace Montero, a shady developer. Jones and Trish reminisce about Dorothy and attend the funeral. Jillian calls Jones and informs her that the police have a warrant for her arrest. Jones realizes that Trish murdered Nussbaumer and leaves. Later, she attempts to trail Trish, but is arrested. Later, Eric watches in horror as Trish attacks and murders Montero in his trailer office. Episode 11 aka Hellcat. After discovering her mother dead, Trish goes after Salinger, but is stopped by Jones, who tries to comfort her. She approaches Eric about helping out with catching criminals, and they go after Nussbaumer by recording a confession. Trish accidentally kills him in a rage and Eric's headaches go away. When Jones is suspected of murdering Nussbaumer, Trish and Eric plot to divert the investigators by attacking Montero and taking responsibility for Nussbaumer. Hogarth approaches Trish with her knowledge of her activities and asks her to steal something from Pat's Eras. Eric is revealed to have called the cops on Jones so that she would have an alibi. Episode 12 aka A Lot of Worms. Jones is let go from police custody and returns to Alias investigations to find Eric recuperating. He tells her that Trish is now killing victims intentionally and Jones rushes to the hospital to save Salinger from Trish. He takes him to Hogarth, but he opts to go back to his apartment and wait for Trish to arrive and attack him. Instead, Jones arrives to set a trap for Trish, which is successful. Malcolm and Eric knock her out while Jones steals the camera that contained the picture of Trish attacking Salinger. Malcolm has Trish chained up in her apartment while he watches her. Salinger later restrains Jones at her apartment and begins torturing her to get her to confess to being a fraud. When Salinger mentions killing Dorothy, Jones reveals she had recorded his confession and subdues Salinger, leaving him for the police. With Salinger arrested, Jones frees Trish and encourages her to move on. However, Trish is still overcome with anger and murders Salinger while he is being transported to court, before escaping and injuring several random bystanders. Hogarth, Costa, and Jones find his beaten and mutilated body in an elevator. Episode 13 aka Everything. As Jones solemnly returns to her apartment, she is greeted by Luke Cage, who tells her that the hardest thing he did was send his brother, Willis Stryker, to the raft. Knowing what she has to do, Jones decides to track Trish down. Jones leaks to the news Trish's identity as the masked vigilante. Jones finds Trish attempting to escape and defeats her after she tries to stab her. As Trish is being processed, it dawns on her that she is the bad guy. Jones gives Malcolm the keys to Alias investigations and sees Trish being taken to the raft. Jones tries to leave for Mexico, but after hearing Kilgrave's voice tell her to leave everyone behind, she has a change of heart and decides to stay in New York City.